Hello friends, this video on transport in plants and animals part 17 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now, how many of you have ever been to a doctor along with your parents or grandparents to get blood pressure checked? Many of you would have heard elderly people saying that he has high BP problem. So what is this BP? BP is nothing but blood pressure. And what is blood pressure? It is the ratio of the systolic pressure to the diastolic pressure. So till now we have been talking about systole and diastole. So contraction, whenever there is contraction of the chambers, it is systole. Whenever there is relaxation of the chambers, it is diastole. So during systole, the pressure with which the blood flows, that is measured as the systolic pressure. Again at the diastole, the pressure with which the blood flows, that is the diastolic pressure. So normally this blood pressure is always given by two numbers. So you would have heard people saying that the BP of this person is 120 by 80. So what is this 120 by 80? So the numerator is nothing but the systolic pressure, which denotes the pressure with which the blood flows during systole. And the denominator is nothing but the diastolic pressure. So the systolic pressure is always higher than the diastolic pressure. Now for any healthy human adult, the average BP should be 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury column. So now let's see, how do we measure blood pressure? Have you ever accompanied somebody who has gone to a doctor to get his or her BP checked? If not, try it out sometime. So this is how the BP is checked with the help of an instrument called sphygmomanometer. So this is how it looks like. So now this is how the arteries carry the blood. So that's how the blood flows through the various blood vessels. Now how do they check the blood pressure? They have an instrument along with which they have a band. So this band is pressed very tightly at this place. Now it is pressed so tightly that you see this blood vessel gets constricted. Now when you constrict the blood vessel, what happens? A very high pressure gets created. So under that pressure, it is pressed so tightly that the blood flow can be heard with the help of a stethoscope. So this stethoscope is often used by doctors to listen to that sound of blood flow. Now the blood flow through these arteries at peak pressure is due to the ventricular systole. So in order to measure what is the systolic pressure, that is in order to get the value of the denominator, what is done is this band is attached to a pump. Now as you press the pump, this band becomes tighter. Now as the band becomes tighter, what happens? The pressure through which the blood flow through these arteries, that tends to increase. So at the maximum pressure, the blood, whatever is the measurement that is noted down, so that is the systolic pressure or the numerator, and then it is gradually released. So then it is gradually loosened. So once you measure the systolic pressure, then what do? You start loosening it up, and when you start loosening it up, what happens? The pressure decreases, and this value also decreases, and it comes to a minimum value. So that value gives the diastolic pressure. That means when the chambers are in the relaxation mode. So on releasing the band, the sound which was earlier heard with the stethoscope, that sound also fades and finally stops. So when the sound stops, that is where you get the value for the diastolic pressure. So this is how the blood pressure is measured. Now what are the mechanisms behind how the sphygmomanometer works and all that will be dealt with in your higher classes. But for now you should just know how exactly do you measure blood pressure and what do you mean by blood pressure. So blood pressure is all about the rate at which the blood flows through your arteries. So the sounds which the doctor gets to hear with the stethoscope, those sounds are nothing but the sound produced due to the contraction and relaxation of the chambers of the heart. So as you have seen that in each cardiac cycle, there are two prominent sounds which are heard. So these sounds are due to the opening and closing of the valves. Now as I have mentioned before also, the bicuspid and the tricuspid valve. So this is the bicuspid valve, this is the tricuspid valve. So when these valves closes, when do they close? When the ventricles contract. So that is the time when these valves closes. So initially these valves will open up and then the blood will flow from the right auricle to the right ventricle. Here you have left auricle and here you have left ventricle. So first it will open up. Now when the ventricles start contracting, that is the time when this valve will get closed. And at the same time, this valve will also get closed. So closure of these two valves produces a prominent sound, and that sound is heard with the stethoscope. So that is one sound. Now after that what happens? These two valves open up, that is the pulmonary valve and so this is the pulmonary valve and this is the aortic valve. So after this the pulmonary valve opens up and that's when the blood flows from the ventricle to the lungs. Correct? Now, once the blood has flown out, after that again starts the joint diastole and these pulmonary valve and the aortic valve will close. So this closure will also produce a prominent sound. Now, these two sounds will get produced alternately. So first this sound will be produced, then this sound, again this sound, again this sound. So it will happen periodically, and that is why you will be able to hear that rhythmic sound with your stethoscope as well. So this clears your concept of heartbeat. So with this, we have discussed all that should have been discussed in the circulatory system. So circulation, we saw, is one important example of transportation in animals, because we saw that because of this circulation, a lot of good products, food, hormones, excretory products, everything gets transported through. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.